Hello and welcome to a new welcome video welcoming you to Flight Attendant Career Connection. If you are new to the group, I'm so excited that you're watching this video because this video is going to help you get a ton of your questions answered straight away, right out of the gate. We're going to talk about requirements to become a flight attendant and how to become a flight attendant in the United States. We are going to talk about I got to check my notes so I don't miss anything. We're also going to talk about the purpose of this group as well as Flight Attendant Career Connection as a company. And we're going to talk, I'm going to answer some frequently asked questions about age, weight, height, COVID, who's hiring, why are they hiring, tattoos, other things like that. So I think that you'll get the bulk of your foundational questions answered in this video. So I'm super excited that you're here watching it. First of all, I'm happy that you are now a member of Flight Attendant Career Connection, that you're part of our community, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching this inside the Facebook group. I'm glad that we have been able to connect through social media and that I am going to get to be a part of your journey to reach your flight attendant goals. Maybe I'll be a little part and maybe I'll get to be a bigger part. But either way, I'm really excited that we're going to be able to be connected a little bit on your journey towards your new wings. So let's dive in. How do you become a flight attendant? That is number one question, right? Ground zero, how do you become a flight attendant? I want to preface this by saying I'm going to answer these questions and give advice based on the rules, regulations in the United States. These are very similar to the regulations in Canada, as well as the regulations in Australia. And I've worked with aspiring flight attendants as they have worked towards getting their wings in those countries. So I'm a little bit familiar with those two countries, but outside of the United States, if you're in Asia, if you're in the Philippines, if you're in Europe, if you're in the Middle East, if those are the kind of places that you are living or wanting to be hired in those countries, this information is going to hopefully be inspirational, but it's not going to be as accurate as it's going to be for the United States. So let's get started on requirements in the United States, or let's get started on how to become a flight attendant. So the first thing is to make sure that you meet the requirements. You will need to either be a United States citizen, a U.S. citizen, or you need to have permission to work in the U.S. without needing a sponsored visa. You need to be at least 18 years old. You need to have a high school degree or a GED. Either is totally fine. And then you have to be willing to relocate. You have to be ready to have a lifestyle change. You have to be in a position where being gone from your current home responsibilities for up to 20 days and nights a month, in some cases longer, in some cases shorter, but that's a good round number, that would work for you. So you would need to think about pets, plants, children, spouses, other responsibilities that you maybe have. Now, there are solutions to all those. There are ways to work the problem, solve the problem for any of those things that would maybe be something that you would need, that would be a problem for you, just a little challenge to overcome, but you need to consider them. Okay, so that's part of the requirements, is making sure that you meet the minimum requirements, which are actually really fairly basic in the United States, but you also need to make sure that you meet the qualification that now is the right time for you to pursue this career and for you to change lifestyles. Another thing is it could be a pay cut for you. We get a question a lot in the Facebook group, are flight attendants broke? Well, that's super relative to depending on where you coming from, where you at, but flight attendants can expect to make anywhere from $20,000 to $20,000 to $35,000 the first year. Now, it does go up from there, but if you are making more than $20,000, $24,000, then it could be a pay cut for you. It would be a pay cut unless you could maybe work part-time or do something else on the side. But the flight attendant career would be a pay cut. But if you're a stay-at-home mom, or if you're already working very entry-level job, making $20,000-$25,000 a year already, then it's not going to be a pay cut for you. Like if you're a stay-at-home mom, it's going to be 25 grand more than you had last year. stay-at-home mom here. Okay, so that's a little bit about money, but I like to be very concrete with numbers, especially since everything's so relative. Okay, so first step one, make sure you meet the qualifications on paper as well as in your personal life, so that now is the right time for you to pursue this career. Step number two, get your resume airline ready. So I'll pop down in the I was going to say show notes, but this isn't really a show, so there's no notes. I'll put in the description of this video some links to some free videos that I have on YouTube for your resume to help you get your resume airline ready. Basically, you want to make sure that every job that you have on your resume highlights your teamwork, customer service, and safety responsibilities in that position. That's the very basics, but those videos go into more depth. I also can personally help you with your resume, either review it or completely rewrite it and create a fresh one for you. Again, details will be in the description for that too. After your resume is ready, now you're going to apply. You apply online through the airline's website. Okay. There's all sorts of things when you're Googling around and you're searching the LinkedIn and you're on the Indeeds and you're in the Glassdoors and you're doing all the things, and you're going to see like the Airline Academy or other things that are recruiting flight attendants, and or just like, oh, I'm going to hire for this company, or submit here and we'll send it off to JetBlue for you. No, you need to apply through the airline's website. When you go to the airline's website, and I have a resource to make this really easy. There's a page on my website called Airline Listings, and it lists all the airlines, and it will say, we'll type next to it, accepting applications, if they're accepting applications. And then when you click, it will take you to that airline's website. So you don't apply through me or any of the other things that you may find on the internet. You're going to apply straight to the airline's website. If there is not a place on that airline's website, when you go to Delta today, and it does not say flight attendant, in-flight crew member, Delta would say flight attendant. JetBlue says in-flight crew member. If it doesn't say flight attendant to accept applications, then they are not accepting applications. Okay, so that's the only way to do it. You don't email a recruiter. You don't drop your resume off at the airport. You don't give it to your mom, whose neighbor used to be married to a Delta pilot. You just have to apply through the website. Whether they're hiring or not, that's how you apply. Okay, apply through the website. Like I said, that link to that page will be in the description too. You're probably going to want to bookmark it. We update it every day, sometimes more than once a day. If in the middle of the day someone starts hiring and we find out, we go and update it. But it will send you to the links. Another cool thing about that is there's probably airlines on there that you have never heard of, which will allow you to start to research and expand your horizons and maybe see what other opportunities are out there that you were not aware of before. So that's another really cool reason to visit that page. So after you have applied, then you wait. Sometimes you don't have to wait very long. Sometimes you have to wait a long time. But the next step is going to be interview. Occasionally, there is an assessment thrown in there, either with your application. PSA currently has an assessment as part of their application, or it could be a secondary screening after your resume. You maybe would be invited to complete a assessment if you have met the basic criteria. Some airlines, Delta was doing this back when they were hiring, early 2020. They had their assessment, I think, as step 3. So you actually did an interview and then had your assessment interview or invitation. So you will sometimes see an assessment. These are basically personality tests and or not trivia, but critical thinking. That's what I'm trying to say. Here's my critical thinking at work right in front of you. So critical thinking, PSA has like shapes, like what's next in the pattern. They make you sweat a little bit, but just do your best. Be as honest as possible. Don't try to figure out what they want, especially for the personality part. Just answer honestly. You don't want to be middle of the road, though. That's the only sort of tip. Like, either feel one way or feel the other. Don't just be neutral. You're a leader. You're not neutral. You're a leader. Okay, so that's the assessment. Next is the interview. Right now, video interviews are all the rage. They've been all the rage in aviation for flight attendants for 7 years, as long as Flight Attendant Career Connection has been around, which is over 7 years. Video interviews have been something that aspiring flight attendants have been facing. The reason I say facing is because they can be a little bit awkward. So the first video interview is a pre-recorded on-demand video. So you're not talking to someone. You actually get a link, and at any time of the day, within the time frame that they give you, the deadline, if they give you a deadline, within your deadline, you will get all gussied up in your interview finest, find a quiet spot, click it, and a question pops up on the screen. You record yourself answering, and then you do that 3 to 5 times, depending how many questions you have, and then you send it off to the airline. It sends itself. You don't actually have to do anything. And then it gets sent off to the airline, and they will review it. So it allows them to give a preliminary interview. They can see how you look, how you talk, how you carry yourself, listen to you, and learn a little bit about you, your character, your experience in a way that is relatively low cost, both time and money for both of y'all. You don't have to go anywhere or take off work. They don't have to bring you anywhere or schedule during certain times to try to screen their candidates. So that's the first step of the interview. Pretty much everyone is now, especially in this COVID time and virtual everything, is going to be video interview. Okay, so even the ones that weren't doing video interview have had to quickly figure out ways to do video interview. Okay, the next step is a face-to-face interview. Now, this has changed too. I have not seen recently, since the airline started hiring again, which airline started hiring again around August, all right? I know you might be shocked with that, but right now, as of today, when I'm doing this video, there are flight attendants and new hired flight attendants in training at half a dozen airlines, and there are currently 3 airlines accepting flight attendant applications, and we expect there to be even more over the next 6 weeks. That number will easily double, although to double 3 is not very hard. But it sounds super impressive. But anyways, back to what I'm talking about. So the next step has been a virtual face-to-face. So Mesa is doing this. Mesa actually was doing this before the pandemic because it was so cost-effective. And PSA is doing it this way as well. FSI is doing everything virtual. And that's kind of, I believe Horizon was doing in-person interviews their last round, but it may have been virtual too. Let's find out and pop it in the comments if you know. But anyways, the face-to-faces are becoming virtual, which means you're going to do more like a Zoom room. I just remembered that I lost one of my earrings last week when I was in the pool, and I have the earring. I had put it in my pocket, but I haven't put it back in. And now I'm on video with one earring. So some of y'all may have already noticed and put it in the comments, but just so we're all aware that I'm wearing one earring, that I am also aware. Virtual face-to-faces. Back to virtual face-to-face. Virtual face-to-face is like a Zoom. So you'll have your recruiter giving you information, and there'll be 6 to 10 of y'all applicants on the call, getting the information, maybe even answering a question in front of each other. Then after that, you will have a virtual one-on-one. Mesa and PSA are both doing this, where then you wait your turn, or it is scheduled at another time nearby that you will just meet one-on-one with a recruiter, and you will be asked very traditional flight attendant interview questions one-on-one. So that's kind of how it's going right now. That's how the interview process is going. We're not seeing any open calls. We're not seeing any cattle call type open events. SkyWest was the only one that was offering those open houses prior to the pandemic. Everyone else had gone to apply, do your interview. So I'm curious to see what SkyWest is going to do. They, like I said, they were the only ones doing open houses, and they are planning to hire 1,800 flight attendants in 2021. They just announced that a few days ago. So we'll see probably very soon how they're going to be doing it. So stand by. Of course, I'll do a video about it as soon as we get that information. So you can be watching for that. After you have your interview, If you are offered a job, we call that a CJO. By we call that, I mean that's what you'll see on social media, especially in the Facebook group, a CJO, which stands for conditional job offer. It's conditional on passing training, passing your background check, passing your drug test. Conditional job offer. Or you may end up with a TB&T. Thanks, but no thanks. Try back next time. It basically means a no thank you letter or a rejection letter that you were not successful this time. Of course, you could get that letter at any point in the process, but every one of those is a gift because you have the opportunity to try, to learn, to get better at your skills. And I 100% believe that it is a step towards your yes and your where you're supposed to be. Okay, so that's what would happen after that. Next comes training. Training is getting shooken up a little bit too. So flight attendant training is anywhere from 3.5 to 8.5 weeks, depending on your airline. It also, the way that the length is determined by the airline is the number of aircraft that they have, because you have to learn to evacuate every single one of them, the type of service that they have. So the bigger airlines with lots of different airplanes and lots of different services, international, domestic first class, international first class, international business, domestic economy, international South American economy, like all these little different nuances you would need to learn and be exposed to those during training. So that's why training can be longer at the big boys. It's not really a safety thing. It's more of a service thing. So once training is going to be a little bit different too. Some training is going online. There's no way to fully train a flight attendant online because you have to be able to evacuate and open an aircraft door. So unless they're going to send us all cabin trainers to our house, that's not going to work. So at some point you will have to be in person. Plus, the flight attendant job is an in-person job. So it's not a job you're going to be working virtually. You're going to have to be in front of people practicing your universal precautions to keep you safe. So training will look a little bit different. They will be, the classes are smaller. I know PSA is doing smaller classes every week. Envoy is doing the first week of training online completely. So they want you to have a computer and high-speed internet access at home. So some of the training is changing. Reasons people get released from training. This is always kind of a little bit of a hot topic in the Facebook group. There's several different reasons. Probably the most common reason would be just being unsuccessful in the tests. So you are tested sometimes every day, every other day. Most airlines require a 90% passing grade. They usually do offer one retake. So the thing I want you to know about training, though, is there is a lot to learn and a lot that you have to know. But by the time you make it to training, your airline has already picked you and invested in you, invested money in you. So the recruiters, at that point, your trainers, want you to be successful. The airline has invested in you. They will tell you it's part of the interview process, and it is, in the sense that you could mess it up and be released from training, but it's not the kind of thing where they're like, look to the left, look to the right, half of y'all will be gone, we're trying to like weed you out. They're not trying to weed you out at that point. Now, like I said, if something pops up that they weren't aware of, then maybe that could affect the outcome of training for you. But they're not trying to send you home. I was a in-flight instructor. I was an in-flight instructor with one of my airlines, and I can tell you that our goal was never to weed people out or to trick people. It was always to make sure flight attendants were as successful as they could be. So that's a little bit about training. Other reasons people get sent home from training: they fail their drug test, they fail their background check, they weren't completely accurate / honest on their background check. They're inappropriate with other classmates. They get drunk when they're not supposed to be drunk. And sometimes things happen at home and they decide that they need to go back home, or they decide that this wasn't for them. Okay, so those are the reasons people leave training. Nothing super scary, nothing super secret, and nothing that's not avoidable either. So that's why people end up leaving training. After you graduate from training, that is when the real fun begins and you become a flight attendant. That's how you become a flight attendant, right there. So you decide that you meet the qualifications and it's time. You get your resume airline ready. You apply using the airline's website. You interview, which is the longest part of the process and honestly the most intense and difficult. Then you get to go to training and then you're a flight attendant. That's how you become a flight attendant in the United States. Yes. You don't need any special training. You don't need any special schooling to be a commercial or charter flight attendant in the United States. Please don't invest your money in flight attendant schools unless you are only planning to be a corporate private jet flight attendant. And usually to be a corporate private flight attendant, you need commercial flight attendant experience. So we're probably having this conversation, you and I, right now through the YouTubes. You are someone who is looking to become a commercial flight attendant. Please don't pay for flight attendant training. It is very expensive. It is not necessary. And it can make your training a little bit more difficult because every single training has different evacuation commands, different protocols for checking emergency equipment. It does give you a basis as to what a flight attendant does, but your airline will also teach you what a flight attendant does. So the thing that frustrates me the most about flight attendant schools is that it's expensive, it takes time, and it can make training more difficult for you on the other side. Now, that being said, full disclosure, Flight Attendant Career Connection is a company, but we do not train flight attendants. We leave that up to the FAA certified instructors at the airlines. What I do and what Flight Attendant Career Connection does is we help aspiring flight attendants realize what they bring to the table, package it in a way that their recruiter can understand it and receive it, and we help them feel like they really shined and were their most authentic self in their interview. So that's what we do. We help people prepare for flight attendant interviews. And by prepare, I mean shine as their most authentic self. Okay, so that's a little bit, I just like to say that right after I talk about schools, because I don't want there to be any like confusion, first of all, that maybe Flight Attendant Career Connection is a school, or any thought that maybe I'm just throwing shade at a competitor, because I'm not. What I do is different. What Flight Attendant Career Connection does and offers is very different. In fact, we also offer help at no cost. The Facebook group, this YouTube channel, all of these are actually free resources offered by the company Flight Attendant Career Connection. So I hope whatever level I'm able to help you is helpful. Okay, moving on. Since I've been talking a little bit about myself, I would like to formally introduce myself so that you know who I am. My name is Abby Unger. I'm the owner and founder of Flight Attendant Career Connection, which, like I said, is a little over 7 years old. Our goal is to help aspiring flight attendants reach their career goals faster and with less frustration. We offer resources, coaching, community, and encouragement to aspiring flight attendants. I was a flight attendant. I actually currently am a flight attendant. I'll get to that in a moment. That might surprise some of you because it's new. It's new news. It's new breaking news. I am a former flight attendant. I started my career at at United and then at Continental. I flew for a couple years, met my husband, got married, moved from the city that we were living in. He actually had been working at Continental at the time too on the ground, and he took a job in a different industry, and we moved, and we were newly married, and things were rough and rocky. So I decided to hang up my wings for a little while and stay home and see if we can make this marriage work. Well, that was 12 and a half years ago. I did have a chance to go back to flying, and I worked for PSA Airlines for a couple years until I found out I was expecting my first child. Not till I found out. I actually worked through my pregnancy. So I flew through my pregnancy, but then I didn't go back after I had Ty, my oldest. I decided to stay home. I now have 3 children, 9, a 7, and a 5-year-old. And my husband is back in aviation. He works at Southwest Airlines on the ground. He's currently on leave. The company offered a pretty generous leave package. So he's a current active employee, but he doesn't have to go to work. Aviation's weird, y'all. So that's currently what a little bit about us. I've been doing a Flight Attendant Career Connection, like I said, for the last 7 years. So some of the things that I do is I do interview coaching, resume services, videos on YouTube, Facebook group. I have a workbook. I teach classes. There's a bunch of different things that we do here at Flight Attendant Career Connection to help people land their job. How? Faster and with less frustration. So that's a little bit about me. I am also a current flight attendant working with a very small, very new charter company based out of Miami. I haven't talked about it a lot, so there's probably not a lot of, so if you're watching this new and you've been around for a while, you're like, what? She's a flight attendant again? But yeah, I'm very excited since my husband's on leave. He is more available, of course, for taking care of our children. So we've kind of flip-flopped, and I'm now back at work and back in the skies while he is now Mr. Mom, which is working out really well for now. So we'll see where it takes us. Let's move on to our frequently asked questions. These are questions that are asked frequently. If you still want to ask this question in the Facebook group, feel free to ask it. But if you want the answer now, I'll just give it to you now too. Okay, first question. Is there an age limit to be a flight attendant? You must be at least 18 years old. Some airlines hire at 18, some hire at 19, some hire at 20, and some hire at 21. So if you are 18 or 19 or 20, you do have a couple opportunities. Once you turn 21, then you have all opportunities. Now on the flip side, there is no age cutoff. There are a lot of people who worked really, really hard for me to be able to say that, because back in the day, for a long time, you had to retire when you were 32. It's still like that overseas in some airlines in some countries, but here in the United States, you can fly for the whole rest of your life. So if you get hired at 20, you can fly for the whole rest of your life. Or if you want to wait, if you have to wait, your life ends up with you waiting until you're 50 or 60 or 70 to become a flight attendant, you can still do that. You can still do that. And this is not lip service. This literally happens. So most of the clients that I work with are between 45 and 65 years old. That's a majority of them. And, we have seen people up to age 72 that I personally know that have gotten hired as a flight attendant with no flight attendant experience. So there could be people older. If you know of anybody older, or if you know of an awesome story and you want to pop it in the comments, these are always super inspirational, because I know sometimes it's like, but is there really not an age limit? There's really not an age limit. Go for it. Do it. You can do it. That's the first question. The next question that we get a lot is there a weight limit? Again, because back in the day, you used to get weighed before every flight. You had to wear a corset girdle. There was like a lot. I mean, they still make us wear pantyhose, but they don't even have to be control top now. So things are much better for us. But you don't have to be weighed anymore, and there is no weight requirements. Used to be in the manual, your height had a weight that you had to be to work as a flight attendant, even after you were hired. Now that's not a thing. Thank you, Lord Jesus. But you do have to be able to fit down the aisle, fit out the overwing exit, fit in the jump seat, and yeah, that's all the threes. That's all three. Fit down the aisle, fit out the window, and fit in the jump seat. So it says something like your weight and height must be proportionate. You must be able to perform all emergency duties, things like that. So for context, because I told y'all at the beginning, I like to give numbers. I'm a numbers girl. For context, when I was hired as a flight attendant first, I was wearing a size 12. When I was hired as a flight attendant the second time, I was wearing a size 14 suit. So I was not ever a thin girl, or whatever we want to call that. I like to be very real and upfront that I was able to do it, and you would be able to do it. It's, again, not just lip service. One rule of thumb, though, is how big is too big. Around a size 18, women's size 18, is a good rule of thumb. Now, of course, we all know that we carry our weight differently and things like that. But again, I like to give a number because I think that it is very helpful. So if you are size 18 or smaller, you should be fine. You should be good. If you're not, then you may You may meet some resistance depending on how your weight is carried. But, you do not have to get down to size 6 or size 4 or size 8 or even size 10 to be a flight attendant. We're looking at a size 18. So hopefully that is encouraging to you. I know that it's encouraging to me, or it was when I got hired wearing a size 14. Okay, next, tattoos. Here's another big one, tattoos. Aviation, as far as appearance, is very conservative, although they are very open-minded and accepting in a lot of ways, a lot of lifestyles, a lot of different people, pronouns, things like that. Aviation is one that leads the pack as far as industries and acceptance goes, but they still like people to look sort of classically conservative. And we see this reflected a lot in tattoos. So the industry is changing and it's getting a little more lenient, but you're not going to have a lot of leniency. So let's talk. What does that really mean? Alaska Airlines will allow you to have a tattoo that is smaller than a credit card visible. Mind-blowing. Okay, that's the most liberal. We have all the way down to no tattoos, but most in the middle will say no visible tattoos in uniform. Okay, so you may end up wearing long sleeves. You may end up wearing a collar with a tie. You may end up wearing your scarf all the time. You may end up wearing pants all the time instead of a skirt. So tattoos cannot be visible in uniform is pretty much the golden standard. So if you have a tattoo on your wrist, that could be a problem. If you have a tattoo that comes up your neck, that could be a problem. Tattoo on the back of your hand, tattoo on your face, tattoo behind your ear. Those could be problems. Now, I'm not saying that you will not find a place because, first of all, Alaska and I believe Horizon has the same uniform guidelines as Alaska. So I'm thinking that they probably allow tattoos as well, smaller than a credit card, business card. If that's wrong, put that in the comments, please. And I'll amend the description. But that could be, so we do have some place that you could meet the qualifications. Other airlines will allow you to cover your tattoos with makeup, but not all of them. It's super clear, usually in their job description. Southwest will allow you to cover with makeup. So you can put your watch on and then tap a little dermablend on the little tail of the mermaid that you have tattooed here, or pop a little behind your ear and even wear your hair down at Southwest to help cover it up. You could wear a scarf. There's a couple different ways that you can try to cover up tattoos. So if you have a tattoo, I don't want you to hear like, oh my gosh, I can't get hired, I have a tattoo. Most flight attendants have tattoos. So and some even have full sleeves. So it's not a deal breaker, but it's something to be aware of. Here's the other thing. Don't ever lie about your tattoo. If they ask you, do you have any visible tattoos? You can say no if it's not visible. If they ask you, do you have a tattoo? And you say yes, because you do have one. And they say where, you can say on my lower back, on my upper arm, on my upper leg, behind my shoulder blade, whatever it is. But don't lie, okay? Because we have had people post in the group that it's ditching day, which is the day you get in the water and somebody sees a tattoo. Or they're doing door drills and they're lifting their arms up and the shirt comes up and somebody sees a tattoo. And it was a tattoo that they hadn't disclosed before. So that can be another reason you get released from training. I guess I could have listed that. But that doesn't happen very frequently because, first of all, people don't usually lie, hopefully, to get to that point in their life. So don't lie about tattoos, but that's a little bit about tattoos. Next, who is hiring? Who is currently hiring? I talked about how to find this out earlier in the video, but you're going to visit the link, the airline listings link on my website at abbeyunger.org. And that will give you an updated list of who's accepting applications. Okay, and that's where you're going to go and apply. Another frequently asked question right now because of COVID is, why is anybody hiring? I thought there was a million bazillion flight attendants on furlough. I thought all the airlines were going out of business. I thought nobody was flying. How is anyone hiring? Are they really hiring? Are they not really hiring? Blah, I don't want to say blah, 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 because that sounds rude, but there's just a lot of versions of this question. Here's the deal. The bigger airlines, okay, when COVID started and everything started shutting down and people stopped traveling, yes, these huge corporations, airlines, started losing money. They also were overstaffed, had too many seats, and they had to start shrinking and cutting. So after the PSP, the Payroll Support Program, expired in October, a handful of airlines did furlough, which is laid off flight attendants. American and United were the most prominent in the news, but PSA, GoJet, there were a lot of different airlines that furloughed that weren't necessarily in the news. Also, I believe every airline offered leave. So paid leave, partially paid leave, leave without pay, different leave packages, as well as early retirement packages. Like, there was a lot of things that sort of happened to change the numbers of employees that were active and working and getting paid and needing jobs. Then, after that, the airlines started reshuffling how they operated. What I mean by this is, for example, Alaska Airlines, who owns Horizon, they took some of the routes that they were operating with their big planes, and they took that route, and instead of operating a big plane, they gave it to Horizon so that Horizon, their regional carrier, could operate it with a smaller plane, right? Because if you, let's say you need 50 people to go from Juneau to Anchorage, 50 people, and last week we were moving 300 people. So we had a plane that held 300 people. Now all of a sudden we have 50 people on a 300-person plane. That's 250 empty seats, 250 perishable seats that perished, meaning you can't sell them again, right? It's like an apple that goes bad. You can't resell that bad apple. You have a limited amount of time to sell an airline seat. So they said, all right, well, let's put Horizon over there. They have a plane that holds 70 people, 20 empty seats, 20 seats perishing, 20 seats not being sold is a lot less of a loss than 250 seats. So that means now Horizon has more work, okay? That means Horizon needs more flight attendants because they have now received more flying from Alaska because Alaska has shrunk, and American did this too. So American shrunk, furloughed flight attendants, gave some of the flying to their regional partners. Those regional partners now need more flight attendants. Okay, so that's how airlines are hiring. It's sort of like a transfer of routes and a transfer of work. Now, that being said, some of the airlines were really poised to grow right before the shutdown. For example, Frontier was opening. Well, they got Miami open. They're going to be opening Newark. They were getting ready to open and grow, and they had planes on order. Well, they are still prepared to grow and continue to grow as soon as things start to sort of tip back the other way. So they had positioned themselves in a really good spot before the pandemic, so they will be able to get back to a good spot sooner than maybe another carrier who wasn't. Okay, so that's why we'll see them hiring sooner. Some airlines are hiring because the PSA specifically, when they called back their flight attendants from furlough, they had 400 flight attendants on furlough, and they had hundreds that decided to not come back when they were recalled with the second payroll support put into place. So now PSA is short flight attendants because either those flight attendants decided that they would get another job on the ground, or they were staying home with their kids, or they were just done being flights, whatever. I don't know why I didn't talk to any of them, so I'm guessing. But hundreds of them didn't come back. So now PSA is going to be short because they were trying to call them all back, but hundreds of them didn't come back. So that's why some airlines are hiring. If you are a flight attendant for an airline, you are certified and employed by that airline. If you work for American and you are furloughed, you cannot just go over to Horizon and just start working flights, or just or they say, oh, you're already a flight attendant, come on, get on the plane, start serving stuff. It doesn't work that way, because another thing is, like, another question is, why don't they just hire the furloughed flight attendants? Well, some furloughed flight attendants are not in a position where they have to work, so they're kind of waiting. Others went back to their previous career while they wait to go back to American or United or whoever they're working for. There's also times where the airline that hires you will ask you to resign from your other airline. So, they're not going to go and work for Commute Air for 6 to 9 months and resign from American that they've been at for 7 years and lose all that seniority and all of that good flying, to fly for a smaller regional airline for a short period of time and kind of give up everything that they've sort of built up over at their other airline. So that wouldn't necessarily be a good move either. So that's another reason that we don't see this huge transfer of mainline flight attendants who are furloughed. They don't just flow back into regionals or low-cost carriers or whoever else is hiring. Okay, so I hope that kind of clears up some of that. We've had a lot of those kind of questions too. And then the last question is, how can Flight Attendant Career Connection help you reach your goals faster with less frustration? I've already mentioned a couple of these. One thing that we have going on right now is the preparation package, which is the Flight Attendant Career Connection workbook, the STAR format training class, pre-recorded video, and the confidence class, which is my favorite class. It's about how to feel confident and fully yourself in your interview, or even in your life, or even as a flight attendant. All three of those are in a package called the preparation package, and they're on sale right now for $27 together in a bundle. So the link to that is in this description. That's the first thing that you would want to probably invest in, because it's pretty low cost. I've tried to make it as affordable as possible, and it gives you a really great foundation for learning how to interview, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to learn how to interview in a way that allows the recruiter to see everything that we have to offer. And then also, I'm launching something brand new in February. So if you're watching this video after February, all the information for the links will be in the description. But if you're just watching it now, oh my gosh. So it's brand new. It's called the Flight Attendant Career Hub. It is a membership program that you will join. It's a monthly membership program. You can also subscribe for the whole year, but in it, you will find information on every airline in the US, their branding, their interview style, their core values, how long is training, is it paid, is it unpaid, what's their starting rate, what kind of planes do they have, all sorts of stuff about every airline to make it super easy for you to learn about all the different airlines and prepare for your interview with each one. So that's the hub. It also will include study hall. We're going to do study hall twice a month. I'm going to be teaching a class once a quarter that will be included with the hub. And also every month I'm going to do an interview with a real live flight attendant or former flight attendant or aviation expert specialist, someone who can help you reach your goal, that you can that the members of the hub can ask them questions. For example, we've done this in study hall before. So for example, why do you think that they hired you over everyone else at your interview? What do you think American Airlines is really looking for in their interview? And you can ask someone who was successful in the interview and who is currently working as a flight attendant. Of course, they're not representing the company. They're talking about their personal experience, but it's still super helpful. And it's always interesting to find out too, where's their favorite layover? What's their favorite airplane? What's their best experience that they've had? What's the worst experience that they've had? All those kinds of things will happen in the interview. That will be once a month. So the sign up for the waiting list is in the comments right now if you're watching this before February. Otherwise, all the information for you to join the hub, if that sounds like something that you would benefit from, is also in the description. Besides that, I offer resume services, reviews, and rewrites, as well as one-on-one private interview coaching. You can find links for all that in the description of this video. Whoa, that's everything that I had on my notes. We talked about a lot. I hope that you have a nice foundation. This is a long video. I know that it is, but I'm excited that you've made it to this point. Please feel free to comment, reach out to me. You can email me. The email address is in the comments or in the description, like everything else. So many links. But again, I believe in you. I hope that you get from me that I believe that the flight attendant career is something that is very honorable, very necessary, and is something that if your heart is drawing you towards it, then you absolutely owe it to yourself to go for it and to live the lifestyle that you want to live. So that's why I'm here, is to help you reach that goal. And I can't wait to see where your wings take you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.